Before there was anything, there was silence. No stars, no galaxies, not even the concept of time passing, just an endless, weightless quiet, like the pause before a breath. And out of this silence, our universe somehow found the courage to begin. The most astonishing part is this: it all started from nothing, not from a place, not from a hidden workshop of creation, but from an emptiness so complete it is almost impossible for the human mind to imagine. And yet, here we are. You, me, the stars outside your window, the ground under your feet. All of it is the unfolding of that first mysterious moment. Tonight, we are going to walk backward through time, peeling away the layers of existence until we stand at the edge of that beginning. And as we trace this story, it will not feel like dry science or cold numbers. It will feel like listening to an ancient tale told by the universe itself. Every pause, every whisper of light, every quiet expansion will remind us that from nothing, something always finds a way to be born. Silence before creation. Imagine a silence so absolute that even the idea of sound did not exist. There were no echoes, no movement, not even darkness, because darkness itself needed space to spread into. What we call before was not really before, because time had not yet awakened. This was the canvas without a frame, the pause without a clock, a stage before any actors arrived. To think of this silence is to press our minds against a boundary they were never built to cross. When you sit quietly at night and the house seems still, even then there are small sounds, the hum of electricity, the faint rhythm of your own breathing. But the silence before creation had none of these. It was not peaceful in the way we think of peace. It was not waiting because there was no one to wait. It was simply nothing. And yet this nothing was not empty in the way we imagine. Hidden inside it was the raw potential for everything, like a seed buried in soil. Invisible but alive, the silence carried the possibility of universes, of suns, of the thought forming in your mind right now. Strange, isn't it, that all of this could hide in a silence that did not even know itself? Scientists sometimes call it a quantum vacuum, but names do not soften the strangeness. How can emptiness be pregnant with everything? How can nothingness hold the blueprint of galaxies? It is the first great paradox of existence, one that leaves both philosophers and physicists staring into the same mysterious well. Some say it was a fluctuation, a tiny trembling of that void. Others whisper it was always destined. Either way, silence did not remain silence forever. And so in that immeasurable pause, something happened. Something beyond sound, beyond shape. The first movement, so small that it might not even deserve the word movement. A ripple in the fabric that was not yet fabric. A beginning born inside stillness. And from this moment, the silence was never the same again. The question of nothingness. What do we mean when we say nothing? For most of us, it's an empty room, a blank page, a black screen, but those are still somethings wearing the mask of absence. True nothingness is harder to hold in thought. No room, no page, no black. Just the absence of every possibility except the one that somehow arrived. Philosophers have argued over this for centuries. Why is there something rather than nothing? Asked Leibniz, long before modern science. And the question is not less haunting today. When we close our eyes and try to imagine nothing, our minds cheat us. They paint blackness or a void with edges. But real nothing has no edges. It does not sit anywhere, because where does not exist yet. The strange part is physicists discovered that what we thought of as nothing is not truly empty. Even the vacuum of space hums with restless energy. Tiny particles blink into existence and vanish like fireflies in the night. Could it be that the universe itself began as one of these flickers that did not vanish, that out of the endless sea of potential, one wave rose and never fell back? And perhaps the question is not why nothing gave way to something, but whether nothing ever really existed at all. Could it be that nothing is just our human word for a kind of fullness we cannot yet understand? That maybe, behind the curtain, there was always a hidden hum waiting to swell into the song of the cosmos? It is this question, slippery, elusive, unsatisfied, that pulls us forward. For to touch the heart of nothingness is to brush against the very mystery of our existence. And the deeper you lean into it, the more it whispers that maybe the universe was never born from nothing, but from a silence too full for us to name, energy hidden in the void. The void may appear empty, but nature hides its richest treasures where we least expect them. Quantum physics teaches us that even what we call empty space is alive with invisible motion. Fields stretch across the cosmos, unseen yet undeniable, like threads holding up a stage curtain. They hum softly, and within that hum, particles flicker in and out, borrowing existence for a heartbeat, then dissolving again. This restless dance is not fiction, or it is measured, tested, observed. It tells us that nothing is never truly nothing. It is a sea seething with potential energy, and perhaps one fluctuation, one flicker of possibility, swelled beyond return. Instead of vanishing back into quiet, it expanded, it ballooned outward, carrying the weight of a universe still unborn. Think of it like foam at the edge of the ocean. Most bubbles form, sparkle, then pop. But one bubble grows large, expanding faster than it can collapse. That bubble became our universe. A trembling of energy hidden inside the void became galaxies, stars, and you sitting here listening to this story now. And it feels almost playful, doesn't it? As if reality itself could not resist showing what it could do. The laws of physics stepped forward as if they were always waiting backstage, rehearsed and ready. A stage was built, not with wood and stone, but with energy and expansion. The curtain lifted, and the show began. So what we call the void was not silent after all. It was alive, simmering with unseen sparks, and one of those sparks became everything. From stillness to motion, from emptiness to overflowing, the void revealed its secret, that the universe does not need a reason to exist. It only needs the possibility. Quantum whispers in empty space. If you lean close enough into the silence, you might hear it, the tiniest whispers of quantum fields. They do not sound like voices, but they are the language of probability, of uncertainty, of chance itself. At scales smaller than atoms, the universe is not solid and fixed. It is fluid, shifting, playful. Particles appear without cause, drift for a blink, and fade. This is the strange quantum world where emptiness hums like an unseen harp, and reality seems to be woven not from certainty, but from endless possibilities. Could our entire universe be the echo of such a whisper? Imagine a fluctuation that did not fade away, but instead tipped reality into motion. A quantum hiccup that spilled over, unfolding into stars and galaxies. It sounds unlikely, but in a sea of infinite whispers, even the unlikely becomes inevitable. What makes it more mysterious is that quantum mechanics does not follow the neat logic we expect. It tells us that particles can be in many places at once, that outcomes are only probabilities until observed. So, when the universe was young, was it also many possibilities at once, collapsing into the one we now live inside? And in this way, what we see as solid and unshakable, mountains, oceans, planets, may all be echoes of those whispers still. The story of existence might not be written in thunder, but in the quiet trembling murmurs of the smallest scales of reality. The spark that broke the stillness. Then came the spark. Not fire in the way we know it, but a surge of unimaginable energy bursting forth from the silence. Some call it the Big Bang, though that name is misleading. There was no explosion in space. Space itself was the explosion. A sudden, unstoppable expansion, faster than light, stretching the newborn universe like a balloon, filling in an instant. This was the moment the stillness was broken forever. The spark carried within it the blueprint of everything that would follow, the laws of gravity, the dance of particles, the seeds of galaxies. Time began to tick, space began to breathe, and energy poured into form. It is difficult to picture. We want to imagine fireballs, shockwaves, noise. But the spark was quieter than that. It was pure, unfolding, a silent storm of energy without sound, because sound itself needed air to travel through. It was a fire that did not burn, but created the possibility of burning. A light that did not shine in space, but created space for light to travel. In less than a heartbeat, the universe grew larger than we can imagine. And yet within that expansion, the seeds of everything we know were sown. Every atom in your body, every star you see tonight, can trace its ancestry back to that spark. You are not separate from it. You are its echo. And so the stillness was broken. The universe was awake, and the story had begun. As we open more of this cosmic tale, the silence will give way to light, and the first outlines of existence will emerge before our eyes. A seed, smaller than a thought. The spark that broke the stillness was not vast in size. It was smaller than the tiniest point your mind can imagine. Tinier than an atom, smaller than a speck of dust caught in sunlight. And yet it held within it the possibility of everything. Galaxies, oceans, minds, even the sound of your voice if you spoke right now. It's humbling, isn't it? We look at the night sky and feel overwhelmed by its immensity. But all of it, every star and world, was once contained in that seed. A seed that was not physical in the way we understand, but a storm of energy pressed into a point beyond comprehension, a silent womb of infinity. And this seed did not stay still. It swelled, faster than light, faster than thought. The expansion was so rapid that in less than a blink, it became larger than we can truly picture. It's as if reality itself had been packed into a hidden fold, and then suddenly unfolded. Space itself was being woven, thread by thread, from this seed, smaller than a thought. It makes you wonder, how often do we underestimate the small? A seed in soil, a whisper in silence, a flicker in the void. Perhaps the universe has been reminding us from the very beginning, never ignore what looks too small to matter. And as this seed grew, it carried with it not just energy, but the architecture of all that was to come. The rules of physics, the patterns of matter, the destiny of stars, all coded within a seed that once fit nowhere and now fits everywhere. Expansion without boundaries. The universe did not grow into anything. It created the into as it went. This is the part that bends the mind. When we think of expansion, we imagine a balloon swelling in a room. But the universe had no room. It was the room being created as it stretched. This expansion was relentless, unstoppable, pouring outward at a pace that defies all sense. Every moment new space was born. Imagine standing on a shoreline where the ocean keeps creating more ocean in front of your eyes. No matter how far you look, the horizon runs ahead of you. And within this expansion, energy cooled, just enough for patterns to begin forming. Waves of density spread across the young cosmos like ripples across water. Some regions thickened, others thinned, setting the stage for galaxies that would bloom much later. What's remarkable is that this expansion never truly ended. Even now, billions of years later, the universe continues to stretch. The galaxies drift apart like sparks flying from an eternal fire beak. When you look at the night sky, you are not looking at still stars. You are watching the echoes of a universe still running, still breathing outward. It makes you wonder whether expansion itself is the natural rhythm of reality. Maybe to exist is always to stretch, always to unfold further, beyond the edges of what we thought was possible. Space stretching like a new skin. As the universe expanded, it was not stretching into emptiness, but creating the very fabric of existence. Space itself was the new skin, unfolding, pulling wider, making room for light and matter that had not yet even arrived. This fabric is invisible, yet it holds everything. Think of it as a stage curtain, smooth at first, then slowly wrinkled by the weight of matter that would later gather. Where it sagged slightly, galaxies would one day cluster. Where it stretched taut, cosmic voids would open, vast and dark. And within this new skin, time also began to flow. Before expansion, there was no before. But once the fabric unfolded, the ticking of time began, marking a rhythm that would carry forward forever. Each wrinkle in space carried a story, and each tick of time carried a future. The beauty of this stretching is that it was not uniform. Some regions grew denser, others more empty. This unevenness, these tiny imperfections, became the seeds of everything complex. Without them, there would have been no galaxies, no stars, no Earth, no us. The universe owes its richness to the fact that it was never perfectly smooth. And so space stretched, like skin after birth, delicate but unstoppable, carrying within it the potential for every story yet to be told. Time awakens beside space. Time is something we take for granted. But in that first breath of the universe, it was born alongside space. They are twins, inseparable. You cannot have space without time, or time without space. Together they form the fabric that would cradle all existence. Before this awakening, asking what happened before is like asking what lies north of the North Pole. The very concept of before only began when time itself opened its eyes. With each pulse of expansion, time flowed forward, counting moments that had never been counted before. Think of time not as a line, but as a river. In that first instant, the river began to flow, carving paths for galaxies, stars, and lives yet unborn. Every second since then is just another ripple in that endless current. You, listening now, are part of that same river that began when the cosmos first stretched its wings. And perhaps the most haunting part is this. Time moves only one way. The river flows forward, never backward. Why? We do not fully know. But it gives life its rhythm, its urgency, its meaning. Without the arrow of time, there would be no past to remember and no future to imagine. So when time awakened, it was not a silent observer. It was the heartbeat of the universe, pulsing alongside space, forever carrying us from nothing towards something. The birth of light itself. At first, the universe was too hot, too wild, too thick with energy for light to travel freely. Imagine a fog so dense that no beam can pierce it. That was the early cosmos, blazing yet hidden, glowing yet unseen. And then, after hundreds of thousands of years, the fog thinned. Particles settled, space cooled, and for the very first time, light could roam free. This moment, the birth of light, was like the universe opening its eyes. Photons, the carriers of light, streamed outward, filling the cosmos with brightness that still echoes today. That faint glow, stretched by time, is what we now call the cosmic microwave background, the afterglow of creation itself. It was not light, as from a candle or the sun. It was more primal, more universal, a glow that bathed everything evenly, soft and vast. Imagine a newborn child wrapped in a warm, glowing blanket. That was the universe's first memory of light. And within this glow, the seeds of structure could finally be seen. Tiny variations in brightness marked the places where galaxies would grow, where stars would one day ignite, where life would eventually awaken. The birth of light was not just illumination, it was a map, a blueprint of all that was to come. Even now, billions of years later, that ancient light still reaches us, faint but eternal. And when astronomers measure it, they are not just looking at the past, they are listening to the very first words the universe ever spoke. Shadows form around the light. When light was finally free to travel, it did not shine into emptiness. It wove shadows alongside its glow, because where there is light, contrast follows. In some places the glow was strong, in others faint, and these tiny differences became the outlines of structure. It was like sunlight through rippling water, revealing bright patterns and darker pools. These shadows were not empty, they were promises. They marked the regions where gravity would later gather matter, pulling it into clumps, galaxies, and stars. In the soft afterglow of creation, the universe already carried the fingerprint of its future. It's easy to think of shadows as the absence of something, but here they were, the very script of existence. Without them, everything would have remained evenly spread, too smooth for complexity. There would have been no galaxies, no suns, no earth beneath your feet. The universe needed shadows to write its story. Even now, when astronomers measure the faint background glow, they trace these subtle contrasts, these cosmic fingerprints. They are the earliest maps we have, showing not where things are, but where things were destined to gather. And so, in that newborn light, the first shadows quietly formed, not as emptiness, but as the quiet stage where brilliance would be born. Matter condenses from pure energy. From the glow of energy, matter began to appear. In those first minutes, the universe was still unimaginably hot, a seething sea where energy constantly turned into particles and back again. But as it cooled, the balance shifted. Energy slowed, solidified, condensed into the simplest building blocks, protons, neutrons, electrons. This was the first alchemy where light became substance. Out of pure energy, particles of matter emerged, tiny but indestructible in their significance. Imagine watching steam condense into drops of water on a cool window pane. That is how matter crystallized from the early fire of creation. At first, it was only the lightest elements, hydrogen, simple and abundant, a touch of helium forged in the furnace of those first 3 minutes, a trace of lithium too, nothing complex, nothing heavy yet, just the raw foundation stones waiting to be stacked into greater structures. And once matter appeared, gravity gained something to pull on. The stage was no longer just energy and space. It had characters now, actors, ready to interact, to gather, to create the drama of stars and galaxies. With matter, the universe could begin to shape itself. From that point on, the story was no longer only about light. It was about substance. The first true ingredients of everything solid, everything touchable, were finally here. The first particles appear. These first particles were like seeds scattered across an endless field, simple, indivisible, yet carrying infinite potential. Hydrogen would one day fuel stars. Helium would glow in their cores. And from these elements, every heavier atom, carbon, oxygen, iron, gold, would eventually be born. It is almost poetic, the simplest things giving rise to the most complex. From one proton and one electron, hydrogen carries within it the recipe for galaxies. From helium, entire suns can burn for billions of years. These are not just particles. They are the alphabet of existence, the first letters written in the language of creation. But in those early ages, the universe was still a wild and restless place. Particles collided, scattered, joined, broke apart again. It was chaotic, but not meaningless. Each collision, each interaction set the stage for stability later. Out of the storm, order would slowly emerge. Think of a newborn child, kicking and flailing, uncoordinated but alive with energy. That was the universe in its infancy, restless, unsettled, but overflowing with potential. Every particle was a promise, every interaction a rehearsal for the cosmic play that was to follow, and so from energy's fire the first true particles stood up, tiny yet eternal. The raw dust of everything we know, attraction pulls them together. Once matter appeared, a new force took hold, attraction. Gravity, subtle yet irresistible, began to pull particles toward each other. At first the pull was gentle, almost unnoticed against the chaos. But over time, gravity proved patient, relentless. What was scattered began to gather. Tiny clumps formed in the vastness. The more they gathered, the stronger their pull became. Like drops of rain merging into streams, then rivers, matter flowed together under the quiet hand of gravity. It was not fast, not violent at first, but steady, inevitable. Attraction was the silent architect of the cosmos. What is beautiful is how small things became mighty through unity. A lone particle was insignificant, but billions drawn together became clouds, and clouds became the birthplaces of stars. It is a lesson the universe whispers even to us, that even the smallest, when drawn together, can reshape reality. And this pulling together did more than form clumps. It ignited the first sparks of structure. Invisible filaments stretched across the cosmos, guiding matter into webs and clusters. Even now, the universe holds this shape, a great cosmic web, galaxies strung along threads of gravity like dewdrops on an invisible net. Attraction was not just a force, it was the first embrace of creation, matter leaning toward matter, shaping the future with every quiet pull. The cosmic soup thickens. As matter condensed and gathered, the universe grew thicker with potential. Imagine a vast broth simmering, filled with particles swirling, colliding, combining. It was a cosmic soup, restless yet rich, bubbling with the ingredients of everything to come. This thickening was crucial. Without it, particles would have drifted endlessly, too scattered to form stars or galaxies. But as the soup grew denser, interactions increased. Particles bound into atoms, atoms into clouds, clouds into the seeds of worlds. The universe was beginning to cook its own recipe for complexity. The beauty lies in the timing. If the universe had cooled too quickly, nothing could have formed. If it had remained too hot, matter would never have stabilized. But in this delicate balance, the conditions were just right. A universe capable of stars, capable of life, began in this simmering broth. It is strange to think that the solid ground beneath us, the air we breathe, the water we drink, all trace their origins back to this thick soup of particles swirling in the young cosmos. What feels so stable now began as something so fluid, so uncertain. And as the cosmic soup thickened, the stage was ready for the next chapter. the laws of physics to step forward, giving order to the dance, turning chaos into structure and silence into song. Laws of physics take their place. Out of the thickening soup, order began to rise. The universe did not expand without rules. Instead, the laws of physics quietly stepped onto the stage, like invisible actors guiding the play. Gravity, electromagnetism, the strong and weak nuclear forces all took their places, each with a role, each shaping what could and could not happen. These laws were not imposed from outside, they were woven into the fabric itself. Imagine threads in a loom. The pattern is not painted on afterward, it is built into the weave. That is how the laws of physics lived in the universe from the very beginning. They were not optional, not breakable, but the grammar of reality itself. The strange thing is, these laws seem perfectly tuned for creation. Gravity pulls, but not too strongly or everything would collapse. The forces of the atom bind, but not too tightly or no stars could shine. It is as if the universe was written with balance in mind, poised delicately between chaos and silence. And once these laws were in place, the chaos of the early cosmos began to settle into patterns. Clouds could form, stars could ignite, galaxies could take shape. The stage was no longer just light and matter, it was rules, harmony, rhythm. Without these laws, the universe would have remained an endless blur. But with them, structure began to bloom. Order became the secret heartbeat of creation. Balance between chaos and order. The early universe was not a tidy place. It was wild, hot, full of collisions and bursts of energy. And yet beneath the chaos, order quietly worked. Every explosion was balanced by attraction, every scattering balanced by gathering. It was as if the universe danced on the edge of disorder, yet never fell over. This balance is what allowed complexity to grow. If everything had been too ordered, too uniform, nothing new could have happened. If everything had been too chaotic, too unstable, nothing could have lasted. But between these extremes lay a perfect tension. Enough chaos for creativity, enough order for stability. We see this balance everywhere even today. Galaxies swirl in spirals of order, yet crash into each other in violent chaos. Stars live steady lives, yet end in supernova fire. Even life on Earth thrives between unpredictability and pattern. It is the balance that gives rise to beauty. Perhaps the most astonishing thought is that this balance was not chosen. It emerged naturally like a melody arising from the vibration of strings. The universe itself seemed to know how to hold the line between too much and too little, between silence and noise. And from this balance, everything we know, from stars to cells to thoughts, found its ground. A universe built not by perfection, but by the dance of chaos and order together. The universe finds its rhythm. After the storm of its earliest moments, the universe began to settle into rhythm. Expansion continued, but more steadily. Matter gathered into great clouds, gravity pulled them tighter, and waves of energy rippled through the young cosmos like a drumbeat. This rhythm was not just motion, but timing. Stars could not form too early, or there would be no heavy elements. Galaxies could not form too late, or the universe would be too spread out. Everything moved in a cosmic tempo, a pace that allowed each stage to prepare the next. It was as though creation followed a silent music, one we can still hear faintly in the background radiation of space. The rhythm is everywhere, if you look closely. The cycles of stars being born, shining, dying, and giving birth to new stars. The spirals of galaxies turning in majestic patience. Even the orbits of planets echo this cosmic timing, smaller reflections of the greater dance. And perhaps we feel it too in ways we don't always recognize. The the pull of seasons, the turning of day and night, even the rhythm of our own breath. All of it echoes the tempo the universe began keeping billions of years ago. The cosmos had found its rhythm, and once rhythm appears, life is never far behind. Ripples across the infant cosmos. The newborn universe was not smooth. It trembled with ripples, slight variations in density, small waves of matter and energy flowing through space. These ripples were tiny, but over billions of years they shaped everything. Where matter was slightly denser, gravity pulled more strongly, and galaxies grew. Where it was thinner, voids opened, vast and silent. These ripples were the fingerprints of creation, delicate patterns imprinted on the cosmos like waves across a pond. We can still see them today in the faint glow of the cosmic background, faint temperature differences that map the ripples of the universe's earliest song. It is astonishing that such tiny fluctuations became the grandest structures, clusters of galaxies spanning millions of light years. From small ripples came vast walls of matter, and from faint patterns came the drama of the night sky. In a way, these ripples remind us that small beginnings can carry unimaginable weight. A slight unevenness, a small fluctuation, can echo across eternity. Without them, everything would have remained flat, lifeless, smooth. With them, the cosmos became textured, dynamic, alive, and so the universe carried its ripples forward, shaping the very bones of existence, weaving complexity into what could have been nothing but silence. Invisible forces begin to rule. Beneath the dance of matter and light, invisible forces quietly ruled the cosmos. Gravity was the most obvious, pulling matter together. But alongside it, the other forces, electromagnetism, the strong and weak nuclear interactions, held particles, bound atoms, and allowed stars to ignite. These forces are like unseen hands, shaping reality without ever being seen. You cannot touch gravity, but you feel it in every step. You cannot see the strong force, but without it, the nuclei of atoms would fall apart. The universe is not just built from matter, it is sculpted by these invisible powers. Over time, their interplay created balance. Gravity gathered matter while pressure from energy pushed back. Electromagnetism lit up atoms, while nuclear forces forged the cores of stars. Each force seemed to know its place like instruments in an orchestra, blending into harmony. What's remarkable is how constant these forces are. Across billions of years, across galaxies and black holes, they have not wavered. They are the anchors of reality, the unbroken threads weaving through every moment of existence. And so long before stars fully formed, long before planets and life appeared, the universe already had rulers, not kings of matter, but kings of law. The invisible forces that silently govern everything you and I will ever know. Gravity steps onto the stage. Gravity had always been present, but now it began to take center stage. With matter and energy filling space, gravity finally had something to hold, something to gather. It is the gentlest of the forces, yet it is also the most patient. It does not rush, it does not fade, it simply pulls endlessly, quietly, shaping everything. At first, its effects were small. Particles drifted together into tiny clouds, thin and fragile. But as they grew, their pull strengthened. Gravity is a master of momentum. The more it gathers, the more powerful it becomes. Soon, what began as whispers became waves of structure forming across the universe. Unlike light, gravity cannot be shielded. It travels everywhere, through everything. It is the unseen glue, the invisible architect. Without it, no stars would ever burn, no galaxies would spin, no planets would ever hold oceans, or trees, or people. Gravity was not just a force. It was the hand that sculpted possibility. And so with each pull, with each quiet embrace of drifting matter, gravity claimed its role as the great choreographer of the universe. It stepped onto the stage, not loudly, but with the quiet certainty of something that would never leave. The first dark matter scaffolds. As gravity pulled, it revealed something hidden, something we cannot see, yet without which the cosmos would never have taken shape. Dark matter, an invisible substance, silent and transparent, yet outweighing the visible stars many times over. It does not shine, does not interact with light, but its gravity is undeniable. Imagine building a city without foundations. That is what the universe would have been without dark matter. Instead, invisible scaffolds stretched across space, filaments where gravity gathered matter into great threads. These scaffolds became the skeleton of the universe, the web upon which galaxies would later grow. Even now, when astronomers map galaxies, they find they are not scattered randomly. They line up along vast filaments as though tracing an invisible architecture. That architecture is dark matter, unseen but always present. Without it, stars would not have found homes, and galaxies would never have clustered. The strangest part is that we still don't know what dark matter really is. We know it is there, shaping everything, yet it hides its nature. It is like a silent stagehand in the theatre of creation, unseen but essential, moving the scenery while the lights stay on the actors. Dark matter's scaffolds were the first true structures, the hidden bones of a universe just beginning to take form. Galaxies hidden in potential. Within these dark matter scaffolds, matter began to fall inward, pulled by gravity. At first, it was only clouds of hydrogen and helium drifting, gathering, spiraling slowly. No stars had lit up yet, but galaxies were already there, hidden in potential, waiting for their fire. It is like walking through an orchard before spring. The trees are bare, silent, but you can sense the blossoms waiting. That was the universe, galaxies invisible yet ready, resting in their dark foundations. The shapes were already sketched, but the colors had not yet been painted. These clouds swirled for millions of years, colliding, merging, growing heavier. Gravity sculpted them into spirals, into spheres, into clusters. Each one was a seed of a future city of stars. Each one was a promise that the night sky would not remain dark forever. When we look at distant galaxies today, we are peering back at these early days, seeing them as they were before they lit their first lamps. It is haunting to realize, even before light filled them, galaxies were already there, invisible yet alive with possibility. The universe was preparing for its grand reveal, and galaxies were the silent structures rehearsing behind the curtain. Tiny fluctuations grow stronger. The early universe was not perfectly smooth. Tiny fluctuations, slightly denser regions of matter, were spread throughout space. At first, they were almost invisible. But gravity turned small differences into vast consequences. Where matter was a fraction denser, the pull grew stronger. And over time, those small ripples became enormous structures. It is astonishing to think how sensitive the universe is to detail. A small unevenness at the start, a faint ripple in the soup, becomes a galaxy billions of years later. Without these fluctuations, everything would have remained thin, featureless. The night sky would be dark, empty, silent, but because of them, the cosmos blossomed into richness. This truth echoes in life as well. Tiny beginnings often grow into monumental outcomes. A seed, a spark, a thought. All can unfold into forests, fires, civilizations. The universe itself is the greatest example. Small imperfections grew into all the complexity we now see. As the fluctuations grew stronger, clouds thickened, gravity pulled tighter, and the path toward the first stars became unavoidable. What was once delicate background noise had become the rhythm of destiny. The cosmos was leaning forward, preparing for its first true flames of light. The first stars ignite in darkness. And then, in the great silence, came fire. The first stars burst alive, igniting in the deep dark. For millions of years the universe had been shadowed, filled only with the faint glow of its afterbirth. But now gravity's embrace made hydrogen dense enough to fuse, and fusion lit the first cosmic lamps. These stars were nothing like the sun we know. They were giants, massive and short-lived, burning hot and bright, pouring ultraviolet light into the young universe. Their lives were fierce but brief, some lasting only a few million years before collapsing, exploding, seeding space with heavier elements. Their ignition was the true dawn. For the first time, darkness was pierced by points of blazing brilliance. The night was no longer silent. The cosmos had lit its own candles, and galaxies began to shine. It is almost poetic that the universe waited in darkness, then suddenly bloomed in fire. The stars were more than light, they were factories. In their cores, the first carbon, oxygen, and iron were forged. The ingredients of life itself were born in those early furnaces. From silence to fire, from emptiness to brilliance, the first stars marked the turning point. The universe was no longer only expanding, it was alive with light, color, and the raw materials of future worlds. Hydrogen burns into helium. Inside the hearts of the first stars, hydrogen began its timeless transformation. Under unimaginable pressure, atoms fused, and in that fusion, helium was born. It was the simplest fire, yet the most powerful. The process that still fuels our sun today. This was the universe learning its first trick of alchemy. Hydrogen, the most abundant element, was its first canvas. And as it burned, it released light and heat, filling the dark with brilliance. Each fusion was like a heartbeat, steady and endless, reminding the cosmos that energy could become form, and form could shine. It is humbling to think that every beam of sunlight touching your face carries this ancient story. The warmth you feel is hydrogen's long journey, an echo of that first fire, billions of years ago. Fusion is not just a reaction. It is the rhythm of existence, the song the stars have sung since their birth. Through this burning, the universe gained more than light. It gained stability. Stars could live for millions, even billions of years, holding galaxies together with their glow. Without fusion, the universe would have remained cold potential. With it, the universe became alive with energy. Hydrogen to helium, a simple step, yet the foundation of every star, every sunrise, every future world. Fire seeds the black sky. As the first stars burned, their fire spread across the dark sky. For the first time, light had not only escaped the fog, it had become concentrated, brilliant, pointed. Dots of fire began to pierce the black, each one a furnace blazing with life. The black canvas of space was seeded with sparks, and these fires were not scattered evenly. They gathered into clusters, illuminating galaxies that had until now been invisible. Where darkness had ruled for millions of years, fire now claimed its place. The universe no longer looked empty. It was patterned, textured, alive with color and glow. The light of these first stars traveled outward endlessly, crossing distances we still measure today. Some of those photons are still arriving, brushing against telescopes, whispering stories from 13 billion years ago. When we look deep into space, We are watching these first fires still burning in memory. And though the stars would not last forever, their fire seeded the cosmos with new possibilities. It lit pathways for chemistry, for planets, for life. The black sky was no longer silent. It had learned how to speak in starlight. Each flame was a promise that even in darkness, light will always find a way to begin again. The death of early stars. The first stars lived quickly and died dramatically. They were massive, burning their fuel at a furious pace, their lives brilliant but short. In a few million years, a blink compared to our sun's billions, they exhausted their hydrogen, collapsed, and exploded. Their deaths shook the young universe. These explosions, called supernovae, were not endings but transformations. In their violent deaths, the stars created heavy elements, carbon, oxygen, iron, even gold. Elements that had never existed before were scattered across space, like seeds flung from a burst of fire. The universe was being enriched with new colors, new possibilities. It is strange but beautiful. Death became creation. Without the deaths of those first stars, there would be no planets, no oceans, no life. Everything solid around you, even the iron in your blood, was forged in the death of ancient stars. Their explosions also sent shock waves through space, stirring gas and dust into new clouds. These clouds, enriched with heavy elements, became the birthplaces of the next generation of stars. In dying, the first stars taught the cosmos how to recycle itself. The universe had learned its first great lesson, that endings are never truly endings. They are beginnings wearing different faces. Heavy elements are forged. From those stellar deaths, the universe gained its richness. Before it knew only hydrogen and helium. Now carbon could bond, oxygen could flow, iron could anchor planets. Each new element was a tool, a piece of the puzzle of life waiting to be assembled. Inside the cores of stars, fusion continued its patient work. Helium became carbon, carbon became oxygen, heavier and heavier elements built layer by layer. It was like a cosmic forge, hammering out the ingredients of existence. The fire of stars was the blacksmith's fire of the universe. And when supernovae scattered these elements, they did not scatter them randomly. They filled galaxies with clouds that shimmered with richness. These clouds drifted, cooled, and condensed, carrying within them the seeds of future worlds. The chemistry of life was no longer locked inside stars, while it was free to travel. When you breathe, when you drink water, when you hold a stone, you are touching this ancient story. The carbon in your body, the oxygen in your lungs, the calcium in your bones, all were forged in the hearts of stars billions of years ago. You are quite literally stardust made alive. And so, heavy elements were not just matter. They were potential. They were the universe preparing the canvas for life itself. The dust that builds worlds. Once the heavy elements scattered, they began to gather again as dust. Tiny grains, invisible to the eye, drifting through space, colliding, clumping. It may not seem dramatic, but this dust was the foundation of everything solid, the bricks of planets, moons, mountains, and oceans. This cosmic dust floated in great clouds, glowing faintly in the light of nearby stars. Over millions of years it thickened, pressing together under gravity's patience. Pebbles formed, then rocks, then planet-sized bodies. What had once been smoke in the aftermath of stellar death became the seeds of new worlds. The beauty of this stage is its quiet persistence. No explosions, no fireworks, just dust, gently joining dust. And yet from this softness came Earth, Mars, Jupiter, every world we know. From dust, landscapes were born. From dust, oceans were cradled. From dust, life would one day rise and ask how it all began. Even now, when you see a streaking comet or a drifting speck of cosmic debris, you are looking at pieces of this ancient dust. It is everywhere, still shaping, still moving, still reminding us that worlds are built not in sudden leaps but in patient accumulation. And so the universe's first fires gave way to dust, the humble, quiet dust that built the homes of stars, the lands of planets, and the cradle of life. Galaxies spin into form. As clouds of dust and gas thickened, gravity pulled them into immense spirals and clusters. These were the first galaxies, cosmic cities rising in the night, each one made of billions of stars. They spun like wheels of light, slow but unstoppable, carving their presence into the vast canvas of space. Some galaxies stretched into elegant spirals, arms curling gracefully around their centers. Others gathered as dense ellipses, massive and quiet. And some formed in irregular shapes, chaotic yet alive. Each galaxy was a world unto itself, bound by gravity's embrace, shining in patterns unique as fingerprints. Within them, stars gathered in families, clusters and swarms. Black holes grew at their centers, anchoring the spin, pulling everything into harmony. Galaxies were not just collections of stars, they were ecosystems, communities of light, each with its own rhythm, its own history, its own story to tell. The universe was no longer scattered. It had structure, architecture, a vast web of galaxies filling the darkness with motion. When you look up at the Milky Way on a clear night, you are gazing at just one of these ancient cities, our home among trillions. Galaxies were the universe's great invention, the containers of stars, the wombs of planets, the cradles of everything alive, spirals, clusters, and collisions. Galaxies did not live alone. They gathered into clusters, groups bound by gravity, swirling together like flocks of birds across the sky. These clusters grew into superclusters, stretching across millions of light years, forming the vast scaffolding of the cosmos. The universe had become a tapestry of light and shadow. But galaxies are restless. They drift, collide, and merge. Sometimes two spirals would crash into each other, stars flung outward like sparks from a fire. Other times, smaller galaxies would be swallowed by larger ones, their stars woven into new arms. Collisions were not the end, they were creation in disguise. Our own Milky Way carries this story. It has consumed smaller galaxies before, and in billions of years it will collide with the Andromeda Galaxy. From afar, such collisions look violent, but within them, stars often pass quietly, like ships in a vast sea, while new bursts of star formation light up the merging shapes. It is a reminder that even destruction can carry beauty, that chaos can be a form of creation. The cosmos does not fear collisions. It uses them as tools, weaving galaxies together into ever grander forms. The night sky, with its spirals and arcs, is the record of these dances, the graceful yet relentless ballet of galaxies colliding across eternity. Black holes anchor the centers. At the heart of nearly every galaxy lies a secret, a black hole, vast and invisible, anchoring the stars in place. These are not ordinary black holes, but giants, millions, even billions of times heavier than our Sun. They are the silent rulers of galaxies, unseen yet undeniable. Black holes form when massive stars collapse, but in galaxies they grew into behemoths. Their gravity is so strong that not even light can escape. And yet, they do not only devour, they also shape. Their pull organizes the galaxy. Their influence keeps stars spinning in balance. Sometimes, when fed by falling gas and dust, black holes flare with energy. They shine brighter than entire galaxies, jets of light stretching across thousands of light years. These active hearts are reminders that black holes are not only destroyers but engines of creation, stirring matter, sparking new stars, sculpting galaxies themselves. It is astonishing to realize that our own Milky Way has one such anchor, Sagittarius A Shikshiki, a black hole 4 million times the mass of the Sun, quietly spinning in the center. Without it, our galaxy would drift apart. With it, the spiral arms hold steady. Black holes are the paradoxes of the cosmos. Emptiness that shapes fullness, silence that commands motion, darkness that holds galaxies together. Light travels across vast silence. As stars blazed and galaxies spun, their light began a journey across unimaginable distances. Every beam of starlight you see tonight is a traveler, leaving its home millions or even billions of years ago, crossing silence to reach your eyes. Light is both messenger and memory. It moves fast, the fastest thing we know. Yet in the vastness of the cosmos, even light takes time. To look up at the stars is to look into history. The light you see tonight began its journey before humans walked the earth, before Earth itself even formed in some cases. The silence it travels through is not empty. Space is vast, but filled with invisible fields, dust, and the faint echoes of creation. Yet light endures. It does not tire, it does not fade until it reaches something that can absorb it. It carries stories faithfully across billions of years. Telescopes are our ears pressed against this silence, listening to light. Each photon that lands on a lens is a message from long ago, a whisper across eternity. With every glimpse, we are piecing together the story of where we came from. The universe speaks in light, and our eyes, fragile as they are, have learned how to listen. Cosmic background still echoes. But even older than the starlight is another glow, the cosmic microwave background, the afterglow of the universe's birth. It is not bright like stars, but faint, stretched thin by expansion, a whisper of heat left from the Big Bang itself. This glow fills the entire sky, though we cannot see it with our eyes. It is everywhere, all around us, a soft reminder that the universe remembers its beginning. When scientists first detected it in the 1960s, they realized they were hearing the echo of creation itself. It is astonishingly uniform, yet not perfectly so. Small variations in this background reveal the seeds of galaxies, the tiny ripples that grew into everything we now see. It is both a map and a memory, both silence and song. The oldest light we can measure, still shining, still whispering. And when you think about it, that glow touches you too. Every particle of your body exists inside that same background, bathed in the memory of a universe just a few 100,000 years old. You are not separate from it. You are part of the echo. The cosmic background is the universe's oldest photograph, the first picture it ever took of itself. And it is still there, quietly glowing, telling us that beginnings never really fade away. Expansion continues relentlessly. The universe never stopped stretching. From its very first breath, expansion became its nature. Galaxies drift apart, not because they are moving through space, but because space itself is growing between them. Imagine dots painted on a balloon. As the balloon inflates, the dots move away, though they never walk on their own. This expansion is not slowing. In fact, it is accelerating. Something unseen called dark energy pushes galaxies apart, faster and faster, like an invisible wind. It is quiet, invisible, but relentless. Over billions of years, it has stretched the universe to sizes beyond imagining. The strange part is that we cannot see where this expansion leads. Will it continue forever, thinning galaxies into lonely islands? Will it one day reverse, pulling everything back into silence. The truth remains hidden, leaving us to wonder whether expansion is creation without end, or a breath that one day must return inward. But what we do know is this: right now, the universe is still unfolding. Every second, every heartbeat, it is larger than it was the moment before. You and I live inside an expansion that has never stopped, and likely never will. The cosmos is not static. It is motion, it is change, it is a journey still traveling outward. Dark energy's gentle push. If gravity pulls, something else pushes. That something is dark energy, a mysterious presence that makes up most of the universe. It is invisible, untouchable, yet it drives the expansion faster and faster. Without it, galaxies would cling together. With it, they drift apart endlessly. Dark energy is one of the greatest mysteries of science. We do not know what it is, only what it does. It acts like a quiet hand on the fabric of space, stretching it ever wider. And the more space grows, the more dark energy there seems to be. It is a self-feeding engine, hidden in the silence. It's strange to think that the majority of the universe is made of something we cannot see, measure directly, or hold in our hands. All the stars, all the planets, all the galaxies, they are only a small fraction. The rest is this dark presence, softly but firmly pushing everything apart. And yet without it, we would not be here. The balance between gravity's pull and dark energy's push has shaped the cosmos. Too much push, and galaxies would never form. Too much pull, and the universe would collapse. But in balance, creation had room to grow. Dark energy is the universe's most elusive secret, a reminder that not everything needs to be understood to be real. Infinite horizon ahead. As expansion accelerates, the universe reveals a strange horizon. Beyond a certain distance, galaxies move away faster than light itself, not because they travel so quickly, but because space between us stretches faster than light can bridge. These galaxies slip over the cosmic horizon, lost to us forever. It is like standing at the edge of an endless sea, watching ships sail away until they vanish, not just from sight, but from possibility. Their light will never reach us. They are gone beyond the reach of time. And yet, we know they are still out there, drifting farther into the unreachable. This horizon is not fixed. It grows as the universe expands. More galaxies slip beyond it each day. One by one, they vanish from our cosmic neighborhood, leaving the night sky slowly thinner over eternity. It is not darkness falling, but distance growing. Still within this horizon, we remain connected. The stars we see, the galaxies that still shine to us, are part of our cosmic story. They are the lights that remain within reach, the visible companions on our shared journey through time. The infinite horizon is both humbling and haunting. It reminds us that we live in a universe too vast to ever fully hold, yet still close enough to wonder at. The universe still stretching. Even now, billions of years after its first spark, the universe is still stretching. Every moment adds more space, more distance, more possibility. The galaxies that seem so still in the night sky are quietly moving farther apart, carried by a fabric that never stops unfolding. This stretching is not violent, not loud. It is gentle, patient, like the slow opening of a flower. And yet its effects are immense. In the far future, galaxies will drift so far apart that each may stand alone, surrounded by emptiness, their light never reaching one another. We are living in a rare moment, a time when the night sky is full, when galaxies are still visible, when the cosmos feels alive with light. Far in the future, the universe may look much lonelier. But for now, we are here, in the fullness of its bloom. And perhaps that is the gift of this era, to witness the universe while it is still richly woven, while its stars still speak across space, while its galaxies still sing together in harmony. We are part of the stretch, part of the unfolding fabric, living in the middle of its great story. The universe is not finished. It is still creating, still stretching, still writing its song across eternity. Structures growing from nothing. It is astonishing to remember that all of this, galaxies, stars, planets, life, grew from nothing. From silence, from a void without shape, came structure. Tiny ripples became clusters of galaxies. Fleeting sparks became eternal suns. Dust became worlds. Out of emptiness, everything arose. The universe shows us that complexity does not need to be designed all at once. It emerges step by step from the smallest beginnings. Chaos becomes rhythm, rhythm becomes pattern, pattern becomes structure, and structure becomes story, a story that includes you listening now, here, in this moment. It is easy to forget that the ground beneath us was once stardust, that oceans were once scattered atoms, that our lives are the latest verse in a song billions of years old. But the truth remains. Everything solid, everything meaningful, everything alive grew from nothing's quiet promise. The structures we see today, galaxies webbed together, planets circling stars, life breathing on a small blue world, are the echoes of that original unfolding. From nothing came form, from silence came song, from emptiness came fullness. The universe was never truly empty. It only appeared so. Within its stillness lay everything, waiting to grow. A web of galaxies emerges. As expansion carried on, galaxies did not scatter randomly. They lined up like pearls on invisible threads, forming the great cosmic web. Imagine a spider's web stretched across infinity, its strands made not of silk, but of galaxies themselves, glowing and spinning in the dark. This web is vast beyond imagination. Galaxies cluster in filaments, connected by bridges of matter, separated by immense voids where almost nothing exists. It is the largest structure we know, a skeleton of the universe, drawn in light and shadow. When astronomers map it, the patterns look alive, as if the cosmos is a vast organism. Every dot in that web is a galaxy, and inside each galaxy are billions of stars, each star a sun with worlds circling it. It is overwhelming to realize how much fits into one thread of the cosmic net. And yet the whole web grew from the tiniest ripples of the early universe. The cosmic web is still growing, still shifting, still expanding. And when you look up at the stars, you are peering into just one strand of this immense structure, a single pearl in an infinite necklace. The web reminds us that nothing is truly alone. Everything is connected, even across billions of light years. Stars give birth to planets. Within galaxies, stars began their steady work, not only shining, but shaping the worlds around them. As stars formed, disks of gas and dust circled them, thin and glowing. Within those disks, tiny grains of dust collided, stuck together, and grew. Pebbles became rocks, rocks became planet-sized bodies. Out of the leftovers of starbirth, planets were born. It was a slow, patient process, taking millions of years. Collisions were common, some destructive, some creative. But gravity always guided the dance, pulling matter into larger and larger forms. Soon, entire families of planets circled their stars, each with moons, each with unique shapes and stories. Some planets were giants, made of gas, swirling with storms larger than Earth itself. Others were rocky, with solid crusts and oceans waiting to form. Some stayed close to their stars, burning in heat. Others drifted farther, frozen in silence. The diversity of worlds became as vast as imagination itself. And though not all could host life, each planet became a witness to the universe's unfolding. They were the canvases upon which chemistry would paint its art. Planets were not accidents, they were inevitabilities, the children of stars, born from dust and fire. Every world we know, every home we dream of, traces back to the patient birth of planets from the light of stars. Moons dance around them. Where planets formed, moons followed. Some were captured wanderers, drifting rocks pulled into orbit. Others were born from collisions, shattered fragments reshaped into companions. Still others formed alongside their planets, growing together like siblings. Whatever their origin, moons became faithful dancers, circling endlessly around their worlds. These moons shaped their planets as much as the planets shaped them. They stirred tides, tugged at oceans, pulled on atmospheres. They carved rhythms into worlds, influencing cycles of day and night, even stirring the conditions for life itself. Without our moons, Earth would be a very different place. Some moons grew enormous, rivaling small planets, carrying their own atmospheres and hidden oceans. Others remained small, silent, cratered by impacts. Yet each became part of a larger family, orbiting their parent planets, bound by gravity's gentle hand. The beauty lies in their dance. Each moon moves in silent rhythm, tracing orbits that never tire, forever circling, forever repeating. They remind us that companionship is written into the cosmos, that even in the silence of space, worlds rarely travel alone. When you look at the moon above tonight, remember, it is one of countless companions, part of a story repeated across galaxies. A dance older than life itself. Oceans wait in silence. On some planets, conditions became just right. Heat from their stars balanced with distance. Gravity held atmospheres close, and within these atmospheres water gathered. First as vapor, then as rain, then as oceans spreading across rocky crusts. Oceans waited in silence, cradling the possibility of life. Water is the universe's quiet miracle. It carries memory, shapes landscapes, dissolves elements, and brings them together. In the early seas of countless worlds, chemistry began to stir, molecules meeting, bonding, breaking, trying again. Each wave was a laboratory, each droplet a stage for possibility. These oceans stretched vast, reflecting newborn skies. Some were calm, some stormy, some frozen under shells of ice. But in each, the potential for life whispered beneath the surface. Oceans were not only water, and they were wombs waiting patiently for the first spark of biology to appear. It is moving to realize that Earth's oceans, which cradle our lives today, are part of this same cosmic story. Our seas are not isolated. They are one example of a pattern written across the stars. The silence of water carries a universal song. Oceans are the bridges between chemistry and life. They are where matter learns to dream. Chemistry turns into biology. And then, in those silent oceans, something extraordinary happened. Molecules, once lifeless, began to link into more complex patterns. Chains of atoms folded into shapes that could copy themselves, repeat themselves, improve themselves. Chemistry became biology, the first stirrings of life. It was not sudden. It was a long, patient process with countless failures and fragile beginnings. But eventually, molecules learned how to survive, how to replicate, how to adapt. This was the universe discovering a new trick, not just to exist, but to live. From simple cells, life would one day branch into forests, oceans of creatures, minds that wonder at the stars. But in the beginning, it was small, invisible, fragile, yet unstoppable. Once life appeared, it found ways to stay, to grow, to spread across its oceanic cradle. It is almost unbelievable that from dust and fire, from hydrogen and helium, life could emerge. But that is the story the cosmos writes: from nothing, something; from chaos, order; from chemistry, biology. Life was not separate from the universe. It was the universe learning to look back at itself. And with this step, the silence of creation began to whisper with new voices. The voices of life rising from oceans under distant skies,